Well, hello, kindred spirits. I hope every one of y'all are doing great today. Now, a few videos back, I showed you some of the treasures that we found in an old trunk in the attic of our old farmhouse. And one of those treasures was a vintage Better Homes and Gardens magazine from March 1929. Now let's think about that for just a minute. 1929 was 95 years ago. So 95 Marches ago, this magazine came out. So today, I thought it would be neat to take a flip through and look at a book that's nearly 100 years old, a magazine that's nearly 100 years old, and see what life was like all the way back then. You know, the farmhouse that we lived in and that I showed you in our last video was built in 1915. So this magazine came out 14 years after it was built. So we can kind of get a glimpse of what life might have been like back then in that old place. And to me, when I look through magazines like this and compare it with things I know or people that I knew, it allows me to be a time traveler for just a little bit. And I can go deep in my mind about how things might have been, and I can put myself in the place of a person who may have lived back then. And it's so neat to me to be able to do that. If you just kind of get off in a quiet corner by yourself for a little while and just really go deep in your brain and think about it for a little while, about how people may have lived, or the thoughts people were thinking, or how they dressed, or the world events that may have been going on. If you think about those things and maybe think of a relative even that you knew who was alive back then, you can almost, I don't want to say get in their head, but you almost can if your imagination is big enough. So let's take a little time traveling trip and explore this Better Homes and Garden magazine from 1929. I think it'll be fun. Starting off, I'm in love with this house that they featured on the front. It has daffodils and other types of spring flowers leading up into where this home is. And I love that old chimney. And I'm not entirely sure what these red straws are. I don't know what they represent. It's unusual. This says Meredith Publishing Company, Des Moines, Iowa. I wonder if they're still in existence. And 10 cents. Can you imagine? I have to be very careful with this because it's almost falling apart. Put my glasses on so I can see a little better. Now you may see the magic of tone color window shades before you buy a single one. This picture is just absolutely beautiful of these two ladies sitting in their flapper style dresses with the little skull caps. Bring your home up to date with Insulite, the double purpose insulation. Here's a table of contents. March 1929, number 7. My grandmother was not even a year old in March 1929. She was born in October 1928. So she was still a little bitty girl when this magazine came out. There are 7 delicious ways to serve your Easter star ham. Armour's Star Ham. Now, Armour still makes ham in the U.S. And it says here are 7 ways for 8 or more persons. Baked in cider, spiced and baked, ham roast stuffed, ham butt baked with cloves, half ham braised, savory baked ham slice, or ham slice baked with apples. Do y'all have ham at Easter? We always do. We always cook up a big ham. Oh my goodness. Look at that car. Essex, the Challenger, challenging all who would own the best in comfort, style, and performance, plus economy and value. This is interesting. Women's requirements directly account for a large proportion of the 76 improvements in Essex the Challenger. That is interesting. Wow. Oh my goodness. 7 body types priced from $695 up at factory. Can you just imagine? I wonder what the equivalent today of $695 would be. I love this old picture and a poem, You Have to Believe, by Douglas Mallock. Along the garden path. Oh, okay. This is interesting. Maybe we can go back sometime and read all of these things if y'all would like. You'll have to let me know. But this, first of all, is a poem by Douglas Mallock, You Have to Believe. But then when you flip it over, someone has written a little letter from the editor about You Have to Believe. And I'm going to read this to you real quick. It says, You have to believe. This sentiment expressed by Douglas Mallock in his poem in this issue is one that is especially appropriate to the season. The feeling of hope, of confidence in the resurrection of all things endowed with power to grow is the dominant feeling of all lovers of gardens in the early spring. The gigantic skyscraper or bridge is only a dream before it becomes a practical reality. The garden that will bloom in May, yielding fragrance and color and the joy of living, is now a dream in the minds of most of you who read this passage. That is why planning is necessary at this season. Wow. Building or remodeling, plan, telephone convenience for your home. Service can be fitted exactly to your personal taste. It will add tremendously to living comfort and appearance. And it's talking about Bell System. It says American Telephone and Telegraph Company and associated companies. So when I was a little girl, our telephone company was Bell South. And I think all over the U.S. it was called South Central Bell. And I don't even think that is even a name anymore that's associated with the phone company. I believe Bell South actually turned into AT&T. And so I believe that this is completely gone. So that used to be a really good job. Some of my family members have worked for Bell South, which is now AT&T, for nearly 40 years. So if you got a job with a telephone company years ago, that was a sign you had made it. The Diary of a Plain Dirt Gardener. The month of March finds him a busy man indeed. I just love these advertisements. John goes to parties. More clothes for the wash. This is neat. This is Procter & Gamble, the white naphtha soap. I've seen this Fells naphtha soap, but I've never seen just the white naphtha soap. Oh, this is neat. So, getting ready for the garden. Building cold frames, pruning, soil testing, spraying, and repairing tools are some of this month's tasks. I mean, just like everything else, they're doing things that we're doing now, nearly 100 years ago. It's like the verse from the Bible from Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. It's a bunch of different examples of tools, using the right tools in your garden. These are so neat. You may have one of these houses. The problem of ownership simplified by 2 cozy cottage suggestions. And they do have indoor bathrooms in these houses, so I know that a lot of folks did not have indoor plumbing back then. Grasses that make good lawns. Bearded iris in the southwest. When I look at that picture, I can smell that iris in my mind. The iris is Tennessee's state flower, and that's where I'm from. And so a lot of my 2 of my great-grandmothers both grew the purple bearded iris in their yards. And the purple one had little yellow streaks coming down. Absolutely gorgeous flower, and the smell is like no other. I can almost even taste that smell in the back of my throat. Isn't it funny how fragrance can take you back? How to grow good shrubs, fit your shrubs to your design. That's important. You know, if you have shrubs that look off in front of your house, it will make your house look funny. So it's important to plan wisely. Oh, and someone has built a backyard playground. That looks like fun. Look at these roses. This is beautiful. So pretty. Among ourselves, a department conducted by and for our readers. So I guess this is just people who have written in and sent pictures of their gardens and their homes and showed what they look like. And I love this style of home right here. I believe that's considered a craftsman style home. I'm not entirely sure, but I love that deep front porch. And you can, and I'm sure that the front porch is concrete probably because everything is bricked. And going up on an old front porch like that, even if it's 100 degrees outside, you instantly get cooler just from the breeze blowing through and then that cold concrete. I remember sitting on porches like that a lot as a child. My wren neighbors. She's talking about birds. Tea, convivials, and conversation. The writer urges that you try this kind of informal sociability and observe the results. Well, that's a good idea. Have a tea. Have somebody over for tea. And do you see that little tea cart with the wheels? I've seen these at thrift stores and antique stores before. I always wanted one, but I never bought one. Maybe I should get one now. I love to drink tea. Do y'all like tea? We used to, when my children were small, we would practice our cursive writing in the afternoons, and it didn't happen every afternoon, but we would sit with our little books, and I would practice with the kids, and we had these books, and we'd practice our cursive, and we would listen to classical music. Debussy, Vivaldi are my favorites, and then we would have tea, and so tea and some sort of little cookie, and my middle son always loved the Prince of Wales tea, and then our oldest son liked Earl Grey, and then my daughter she liked everything. She didn't really care. She was just there for the cookies. The furniture pendulum swings. The modern style makes its bow, and it has already won a host of admirers. This is so interesting looking because this reminds me of Art Nouveau, Art Deco looking furniture. That is really pretty. I love that style. Things to make with patches and paint. The truth about the nervous parent. Advice to mothers. These are mothers' methods, a round table for relating experiences in child training. Friday Fish Day. Serve fish foods oftener. Eat them for their goodness as well as for your health's sake. That's interesting. Oftener. Instead of serve fish foods more often, oftener. I don't think I've ever used it like that. And they've got a recipe for halibut supreme and a halibut souffle. This is an advertisement for Celotex insulating cane board. So I'm guessing, yeah, he's finishing off his attic. It says lath boards are easy to apply and keep the room protected against excessive heat and cold. So instead of drywall, they put this up, and I assume it's probably like paneling. It says it's 3 times as effective as wood, 8 times as effective as plasterboard, 12 times brick, and 25 times concrete. What? It's made of cane. Versatile waffles and griddle cakes. Ooh, I love some waffles. Listerine, the safe antiseptic. That's a beautiful entrance to a home. And then this is the Cook's Roundtable, recipes from readers. Oh, wow. Okay, I love to look at old recipes like this. I fixed a supper for my family, and everything was from a 1950s magazine, a 1950s cookbook. And there was a lot of gelatin molded type foods, and we laughed about that for a while because it was not too good, honestly, but it was a fun experiment. But with that said, I'm reading some of these recipes and they sound similar. So they've got biscuits here, which as I'm reading, that sounds like a normal biscuit recipe. Then they've got something called pineapple Bavarian cream, which calls for crushed pineapple, orange gelatin, and heavy cream. Icebox cookies. and new and delicious macaroni. But listen to this: raisin fudge, 2 cupfuls of light brown sugar, 7/8 cupful of thin cream, half a cup of raisins, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Chopped suey, date pudding, and then a light cake, and whole wheat griddle cakes. Oh, look here, guys. Here's the Fells Naphtha soap. Now, they still make this today because I just used it a few weeks ago. Okay, now I was wondering about this naphtha. What is naphtha? And it says naphtha, is the safe, gentle dirt loosener that dry cleaners use. And there's plenty of naphtha in Fells Naphtha. You can smell it. It does have a really nice fragrance. It's one of my favorite fragrances. I actually use this bar soap to make laundry soap. I mix it together with other ingredients and make laundry soap. Sour milk bread pudding. Hot marshmallow sauce, cranberry salad, Easter salad, fish chowder. Oh, wow. So now with Frigidaire, you can regulate the speed of freezing ice cubes and desserts. The new cold control offers greater convenience, utmost simplicity. So it's not just an ice box anymore. Apparently it isn't an electrical refrigerator. Oh, wow. This is amazing, and this is something that we don't even think about anymore. Beauty and comfort can both be wired into your room. So General Electric wiring system. So this is for people who maybe they had their home built and they didn't have electricity when they built it. So now they're showing different places that they've got plugs, they've got little arrows showing where they've got plugs in the walls, light switches. Isn't that amazing? The applesauce twins make painting a farce. For economy, use the best paint and engage a good painter. Sherwin-Williams. Knox gelatin. So here's an example of one of those gelatin desserts, fruit salad supreme, and they sliced up a bunch of fruit and then they poured Jell-O over it and then made a Jell-O mold. I used to see a lot of those when I was a little kid. You don't see those quite as often anymore. Of course, now, when I was a little kid, we went to family reunions once or twice a year. Different family had them. And then also, we used to go to a lot of church suppers or dinners on the ground. And so there was an opportunity. People used to love to show off their cooking. So like at church dinners and family reunions, things like that. And women would come in and show, and they would bring their best meals, and so you got some interesting foods, interesting flavors back then. 8 years later, she writes, my Kelvinator is the best investment I have ever made. So this is in 1920 supposedly, and now she's in 1928 and it's still running. That's very different than today, because I have found that new refrigerators do not last for 8 years anymore. Oh, wow. Maytag aluminum washer. This, my friends, is a washing machine. What in the world? Oh. This is for better housekeeping, utensils that add to the pleasures, comforts, and economics of living. So it looked like somebody was packing a toilet plunger, but it says small enough to pack easily. This vacuum plunger comes in handy for all sorts of small washing jobs. So I guess, you know, if you're going to travel and you needed to wash some things, you might could pack that plunger. I think I'd just rather rub it by hand than have to bring a plunger with me like that. Oh, that's pretty. This is a Simmons mattress. Beauty Rest. Now, they still make these. Scranton Drapery Fabrics. Steel casement windows. Wow. Huh. So health exercises for family and fun. Here are stunts of great value in building resistance, especially at this time of year. Listen to this paragraph. This is the time of year when all of us begin to notice a shut-in feeling. We feel sluggish, stupid, and stiff, longing for the days ahead, full of golf and tennis, gardening and raking, swimming and walking. Our digestions, complexions, and dispositions show our lack of activity and exercise. The children of the family do not show this as much as their elders, for winter means more activity to them than grown-ups, unfortunately for the grown-ups. They're not wrong. I've been feeling a little sluggish and stupid recently, too. Goodness. Okay, mosaic tiles, permanent cheerfulness for your kitchen. So I hope y'all can see this kitchen. Let me see if I can get that a little closer for you. We went to a house in Shreveport, Louisiana. This was many, many years ago. We were looking to buy a house, and the home was very old. It was built in the 20s, and the kitchen still looked like this. It was spectacular. It would have been a little difficult to work in, but I can still remember that kitchen. It was just so wonderful, and it looked like that. That is really something to see. The miracle of mulch paper. Gator hide mulch paper. Well, I just laid some of that down in my garden last week. It wasn't this brand, but it is, you know, something that you lay down to control weeds. So, isn't that interesting? I have to send that to my garden club ladies. The old water bucket has served its purpose. Once upon a time, a nice new water pail was a fine gift for Mother. A characteristic of the better home, plenty of fresh, inviting towels. Oh, now this is kind of neat, only because this is right here in North Carolina. The Cannon Mills were here in North Carolina. Now this says Cannon Mills Incorporated, 70 Worth Street, New York City. Maybe that was their headquarters, but maybe they had Cannon Mills in other parts of the country as well, but they definitely had them up in Kannapolis, North Carolina, which is not far from here at all. And I will tell you that the towels that were made here in North Carolina at the Cannon Mills still work. Even the sheets, they work and are in the most perfect shape still, even if some of them are 40 and 50 years old, compared to the new things that you buy now that are made goodness knows where. They're cheaply made. These were really made well back then. Oh, that's beautiful. Bloom Aid, food for plants. Now this is soft or hard water under pressure with the Water Boy. Water by wire, only $75. Oh, they Sani Flush. The toilet too can sparkle. Pretty sure they still have Sani Flush. Thousands of country homes now cook with this real gas. Pyrofax. It's the greatest joy ever. The greatest joy ever? Well, I reckon if you had to stoke a oven full of wood or cook over a fireplace, it would be the greatest joy ever to get a meal up for a family on a gas stove. So I probably shouldn't make fun. People probably thought that back then. I would have too. Now here's an advertisement for a General Electric refrigerator. You can barely hear it. Look at that. That picture is really pretty. This advertisement would look neat, put in a frame and hung up down at our little farmhouse. I might do that, in fact, because nobody, people get upset that somebody would take a page out of a magazine like this, but truly, who else is really going to be looking at this except me and you all and maybe a few other people? And if I cut this out and framed it, lots of people would see it, so I may just do that. Genuine Williams oil heat. I remember my great-grandmother had an oil heater in her house, and it would make a ticking sound, and it was warm. She lived in Nashville, Tennessee, in East Nashville, in an area called the Nations, and she lived on Tennessee Avenue, and she had a neat little house, and now that neighborhood, I'm sure the house is gone, but that neighborhood is the hip neighborhood now. So interesting how things change. Seth Thomas clocks. Now they're still around. That's an old company. Savage washer and dryer. Wow. Oh, okay, this is interesting. Weather will never wear them out. Our new houses or old JM asbestos shingles are everlasting. Now, I know asbestos is bad for you, but if you ever see a home that still has asbestos siding on it, it still looks as good as the day they put it on. That stuff really will last, but they found it to be bad for people, so they quit making it. That's so pretty. Little Cape Cod house. Now, okay, so look at this. This says 8 distinct improvements, including low cost. The TN one-piece water closet is a startling advance in modern sanitation. So they didn't call that a toilet. They call it a water closet. I thought water closet was the term for just the little place where the toilet was itself, like the room. But I guess not. The WC. Do y'all remember, did you ever read The Diary of Anne Frank? And they would call it the WC. Anytime anybody had to go to the bathroom or the toilet, they would call it the WC for water closet. Doesn't this change all your ideas about window shades? Dog medicine, that's interesting. Sergeant's dog medicine. Now, Sergeant's, do you remember Sergeant's 2-in-1 dog collar? I wonder if they still make dog collars. I didn't realize they made medicine. That's interesting. Now, this is the Nash 400. Wow. There is a finer touch to the operation and control of the new Nash 400. A perfect confidence, even in severe traffic, is yours. Nash brakes stop the car comfortably, instantly. Gears shift smoothly, noiselessly. Clutch pedals yield to the slightest pressure. You've never driven an easier car to steer and park. Looks like a Suburban. $381 lucky women will get $5,000 from O Cedar. So it looks like they want you to enter a contest and write a little, take 5 minutes and write us a letter on why every housewife should use O Cedar mops and O Cedar polish. Preparing the ground for planting. March is the time to lay a foundation for good crops. That is so true. Mrs. Alice Foote McDougall, owner of the famous New York restaurants, shows with her own hands how to make her marvelous waffles. Oh my heavens. I'd like to have one of Miss McDougall's marvelous waffles. Okay, I'm going to read this to y'all because this is interesting. She built a $1 million business. Starting 21 years ago with $38 for capital and 3 beautiful children for inspiration, Mrs. McDougall built up a lucrative business in roasted coffee. She rented a tiny booth in the Grand Central Terminal, and there every Wednesday afternoon she presided over a huge coffee urn. One stormy and bitterly cold day, as she was watching the shivering people who streamed through the station, Mrs. McDougall felt a kindly whim to lessen their discomfort. Impulsively, she sent home for her waffle iron and the necessary ingredients, including royal baking powder. And to all who came in to the little shop that afternoon, she served tender waffles and delicious coffee. Oh, that makes me feel happy just reading that. The glowing appreciation of her guests showed her that she had found a combination of foods with an almost irresistible appeal. The little coffee shop began to serve waffles and coffee. Then in rapid succession, Mrs. McDougall opened the Quartile, the Piazzetta, the Firenze, and the picturesque Sevilla. A waffle is either a great delicacy or a dismal failure. There is no middle ground, says Mrs. Alice Foote McDougall, as she shows step by step how to make the waffles for which her coffee houses are famous. We use the best ingredients for all the foods we serve. The best cream, the finest maple syrup, the freshest butter and eggs. Naturally, we use the best baking powder, which is royal. Well, I'm going to have to go downstairs and make me some of those waffles now. Get me a cup of coffee. breed canaries at home. Stay Bright No Tarnish Tissues. Silverware wrapped in Dex Star Stay Bright tissues will not show the slightest tarnish after long storage. I could have used that on Sunday. We had to polish some silver that had tarnished before we served Sunday dinner. Wonder if those really work. The Mystery of the Inky Caps. Inky Cap Mushrooms. Gosh, y'all, think about this for a minute. It says for only $70 you can stop this drudgery. So this lady is hauling buckets of water from the snow from a pump outside into her house. And so this is a water system. Think about that. Think about how different life is for us, especially here in the U.S. where we have running water in our homes. That is really something. We should be so grateful. Mellow gloss on the walls and ceilings of every room in your home. Low Brothers Paints and Varnishes. I've never heard of them. Where's that can of plastic wood? Handles like putty, hardens into wood. How to relieve colds, mentholatum. Wonder if that was the precursor to Vicks Vapor Rub. Look at this lawnmower. We actually have one of these push lawnmowers outside right now. Those are pretty photographs. Vigoro plant food. Vigoro. Rug advertisement. Teaching you how to put goldfish in your garden pool. Lots of seed advertisements. Look into your own garden for your menus, your home decorations, and your health. That is a great piece of advice. Electrify your sewing machine. Wow. This is interesting. It says, in 7 years will the shadow of rust fall on your house. Norman Rockwell tells his own experience. So, isn't this interesting that they got Norman Rockwell to give a little report of how this anaconda copper and brass helped his house not to get rusty. I love Norman Rockwell's illustrations. I have 2 of them on my wall downstairs. These pretty trellises. And it's telling you how to build a fountain. Now that's a pretty lawn fence. Guard that path. Pittsburgh lawn fence. See how that looks? I remember seeing a fence like that when I was a little bitty girl. It's so decorative and so much more pretty than some of the fences that I've seen recently. It was old when I saw it, so I'm sure it's gone now. Some more advertisements for flowers and different garden tools, lots of those. No garden is too big or too small for a Planet Junior. Now, they still make these. Well, wait a second. I'm sorry. This is not what I thought it was. This is actually a hoe. It's almost like a tiller. I thought it was a seed planter. I've got something that's very similar to this, but you plant seeds with it. Get these buckets hand dipped in pure molten zinc. Wheeling. Oh. Clark Grave Vault. I wonder if that is still a company that's in business. Clark Grave Vaults from Columbus, Ohio. Popularizing the practice hour. A child's desire to learn may be fostered by careful supervision. So that's interesting. That's kind of, it's talking about taking an hour during the day to have your child learn something new. I like that idea. And this is an old battery. Look at that. Okay, so look at how the tops of those batteries look. Dry cell for radio ignition and all purposes. Now, there's a Chevrolet. The Coach, $595. Some points about asparagus. Do y'all like asparagus, fresh asparagus? Old English wax, now that's still around. Curtis Woodwork. It's a beautiful front door. Advertisements for gladiolas, water lilies, Adjusto plant supports, maple furniture, fine maple furniture. There's a blueprint for a birdhouse. Gone is all the drudgery and mystery of learning to play a piano. New from your old materials, new rugs and the latest Oriental patterns. This advertisement says rough on rats. The old reliable don't die in the house. Sold at all drugstores. Used the world over for generations. I guess it's a rat killer. Every 90 seconds, some housewife somewhere buys a national pressure cooker. I have a pressure cooker. I don't know if it's a national. I have to go downstairs. I don't think it is. I think it's a... Goodness, now I don't remember the name. It starts with a P. Is it Presto? I'm not sure. Giant California zinnia. Well, we talked about zinnias the other day. The ones I buy are Benares Giants and Oklahoma Giants. That's beautiful. Look, crane. Fixtures, valves, fittings, and piping for domestic and industrial use. That's a really neat looking kitchen. I love that giant sink with the two drain bars on either side. And that little step up to go outside. She's got her little bench to sit there and do her work. That is really pretty. Got a birthday cake sitting out there. A new vogue in distinctive walls and ceilings, Upson board. The Care of aluminum. Oh, look at this. A new moto mower at a low price, so you can mow the grass with a motor on it now. That almost looks dangerous with it, all the motor being exposed. I guess that's why they quickly decided that they needed to put covers on all of that. The Children's Pleasure Chest, a department conducted by Louise Rockwell. Every day you are judged by the appearance of your grounds. You know, one thing I've noticed in a lot of these old magazine advertisements is they play to guilt. They play to fear of missing out, and they play to the feelings mostly of women, of course, too, because, you know, judged on the appearance of your grounds. I mean, my goodness, that's a lot of pressure on people. So, but I'm sure that's how they sold their plants and all the other things that they sell in advertising. I think some of it was cruel, though, especially the ones geared toward women, it seemed. Invite the happy little songbirds to your home grounds. Modern lampshades. Now those look very Art Deco looking. It says your home away from home, Hotel Statler, and it says when you're traveling, enjoy the home-like comforts of a Statler. Enjoy radio when you throw a switch, ice water when you press a valve, the morning paper under your door, a good library at your disposal, a reading lamp at your bed head, your private bath, stationery without asking, and Statler service. All these things, whatever the price of your room, at no extra cost. So they had Hotel Statlers in Boston, Buffalo, Cleveland, Detroit, St. Louis, and New York. 7,700 rooms with bath and radio reception. Huh. Do any of y'all know about the Statler hotels? Hotel Statlers. I've never heard of that. Blue water fern, an unexplained mystery of the plant kingdom. It says it's rose scented. Lasts a lifetime. What? I bet you that is a fake flower. Like a silk or something. They're being tricky. And here's the index. And then we are at the end. This is just across the editor's desk, and the back of this is gone. It's missing, so thank y'all for taking the time with me to sit and look at this. I found that so fascinating to see what life was like back in 1929. Took a little time traveling trip there. Y'all take good care. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.